Today we're going to have a chat about consent and sex. During this video we are going to explain what consent is, how important it is for sexual relationships and how you can put it into practice. Before we begin, we want to make sure that everyone feels comfortable while watching this video. So just as a heads up, we will be discussing sexual violence today, so feel free to stop watching at any time if this feels difficult. We also have information on how young people can access support at the end of this video. Okay, so firstly, what is consent? All sexual activity needs consent, or as the law describes it, free agreement. This is when someone feels free to say yes to sexual activity because they want to, and when they have the capacity to make this decision. We need to make sure we get consent from all sexual partners every time we do anything sexual. In other words, consent is about making sure that everyone is 100% happy and enthusiastic about the sex they are having. Sounds good, right? Consent is important for every sexual experience, as any sexual activity without consent is rape or sexual assault. Sex without consent can include ignoring someone after they have communicated they don't want to have sex, having sex with someone who's too drunk or too high, or pressuring, threatening or manipulating someone to agree to sex against their will. It is vital to get consent right, as it's traumatic for people to do things sexually to our bodies that we didn't agree to. So it's good to know that we actually get consent for lots of different things every day, both verbally.
Hey, do you want to come to this party with me?
And non-verbally.
Raising a hand for a high five and waiting for a person to clap it back.
When we think about it, we are actually quite good at practicing consent.
Okay, so why do we need to talk about it then?
Because sometimes people can worry about consent when it comes to sex. This could be because we've been told it's not okay to talk about sex, or we're feeling uncomfortable and awkward, or maybe we're still working out what kinds of sex we like. Practicing good consent is really just talking and communicating to your partner about sex. This may seem daunting, but actually it can feel really sexy and empowering and make you more comfortable and confident in the bedroom.
So, when do I get consent?
Discussing consent isn't something that just happens once. Receiving consent during sex is an ongoing process. Your partner is never allowed to try anything sexual without checking you're up for it first. Sometimes you may be down for some sexual things and other times you might not. And even if you agree to having sex, if you stop feeling it or it stops feeling good, you can remove consent at any time. There is plenty of time to pick things up again when everyone is feeling into it, and sex should always stay positive, happy and enthusiastic for the whole time.
Yes. But what if I don't know if someone's feeling pressured?
Anything aside from an enthusiastic clear yes is a no. Talking honestly about the things you don't want to do sexually can be difficult for people, so if you are unsure about how your partner is feeling, if they seem quieter than usual, have closed body language, or they are not communicating as normal, then you always need to stop and check in with them verbally to see how they are feeling.
You okay? Are you into this?
Reminding your partner you would only ever want to do something sexual that they are also into, and making it explicit that they can say no to anything at any time, can help take the pressure off for everyone.
If two people have already been flirting, they should expect to kiss or have sex if they went back home together, right?
You should never assume or expect anything sexual from someone else. Everyone is unique in what sexual activity they find pleasurable, if any at all. And this changes for people all the time. You should never make anyone feel like they owe anything sexual, not if you're married, in a relationship, or have been flirting all night. The only time you should be kissing or having sex is when you both want to.
What if we're at a party? How can I tell if they're too drunk to have sex?
You can only get someone's consent if the person has the capacity to freely agree. The law says that if someone is drunk, affected by drugs, asleep or passed out, then they cannot consent to anything sexual, as they are not in control of their decisions or what is happening to them. So, if you're at a party and you notice the person you're into is drunk or high, you need to respect that they are not in a position to consent to anything sexual, even if they verbally say they want to. Ways to tell if someone cannot consent can include slurred speech, a lack of coordination, a lack of focus or concentration, being overly touchy, or behaving differently in any way to how they would normally. We need to make sure that if someone is in this vulnerable state that they are being looked after, not taken advantage of.
Speaking of noticing body language, sometimes we practice consent non-verbally too. This is okay, however, it takes a lot more work. To ensure you're getting consent this way, you must be very attentive to your partner's body language. Remember, consent, verbal or non-verbal, is always enthusiastic.
If you go in for a kiss and they lean in for a kiss as well, then that's consent.
But if you go in for a kiss and the other person hesitates or pulls back, then you know that's not consent.
Sometimes people think they have consent until someone says no, but this is not true. It is always your responsibility to receive clear consent from someone else. If you're touching someone's body and they seem frozen, out of it or uneasy, then that's not consent. Consent is an enthusiastic verbal or bodily yes. Sometimes it can be really hard to tell if someone is nervous but interested or uncomfortable and scared. That is why it's always best to ask and chat to your partner about sex.
Shall we?
In the real world, people talk about sex all the time. It is fun and sexy and helps you work out what you like and find out what your partner likes. We should be able to talk about sex and practice consent with every partner, whether you're in a romantic relationship or have just met someone at a party for the first time. Not only is talking about sex important for practicing consent, talking about sex is how to have good sex. If we're not comfortable to talk about sex, then you bet the actual sex will be pretty awkward. And you can only ever have good sex when all people are totally and enthusiastically up for it. Yes! For more consent communication tips, watch the Rosie Project's video on how to talk to your partner about sex. For more information and support for young people who have experienced sexual violence, you can contact the Rosie Project by calling the Glasgow and Clyde Rape Crisis Helpline on 08 088 000014 or by visiting the Rosie Project's website at www.rosieproject.co.uk. Alternatively, you can call Rape Crisis Scotland on 08 088 01 03 02 any day from 6 p.m. until midnight.